Let's talk intonation.
Sorry, my lips are a little dry.
Intonation is just a fancy word for whether you are playing in tune or if you're playing the correct note with an accurate sound. Intonation is not about whether you're playing a note with the correct fingering or slide position or partial. It has to do with the small adjustments that we can make to individual notes, either by changing how we're making our sound or by making small changes to adjustments on our instrument. In order to see if we're playing in tune, we can listen to how we sound relative to other notes that we are playing, or in relationship to other instruments and musicians that we're playing with. Or you could use a special tool called a tuner. A tuner exists either in a mobile app on a phone, tablet, or a computer, or you can actually buy a tuner from a store to sit on your music stand while you're practicing. A tuner helps us see our sound. It's similar to how you might use a ruler to make a measurement or how you might use a calculator in math class. It helps us measure how we play in tune. I'll link a few of my favorite tuners down in the description below. I'll also link a few of my favorite in-person and real-life physical tuners that you could purchase from a music store or online that you could attach to your instrument or keep up on your music stand for a great practice session. Just like we have a lot of high and low notes that we can play on our instrument, the individual notes we play have small adjustments that can be made to get the note sounding scientifically accurate and centered.
Science rules.
When an individual note is sitting below the center of the pitch, we call that being flat. You can think of it like a flat tire on a bike or in a car. When the tire simply doesn't have enough air, that tire doesn't work the way it should.
Oh no!
What's the matter, Peppa?
My tire has gone flat.
If an individual note is sitting above the center of the pitch, we call that being sharp. You can think of this like overinflating a balloon or that feeling when you eat too much dessert and your pants get too tight.
Cowabunga!
So the name of the game for playing in tune is having a centered pitch. Here's my example of what it sounds like to play with a centered pitch. You can see that my tuner is measuring close to the center of the screen. Here's an example of me playing that same note, but this time I'm going to play it flat. You can see that the tuner is measuring my sound to the left of the dial. It indicates that I'm under the pitch of the note that I need. Here's an example of a note that is sharp. You can see that the tuner is measuring the sound to the right of the dial. It indicates that I'm above the sound that I need. Here's an example of a note going flat to sharp back to back. See if you can see and hear how the tuner reacts. Let's talk about how you can adjust your intonation just by fixing some of the ways that we might be actually playing our instrument. A ton of intonation problems can be fixed by changing how we use our air. We can center our sound just by simply supporting our sound with a better breath and by better airflow. This is especially true if you're in the first few months or even years of playing your instrument. Here's an example of me not using the best type of air. You'll be able to see on my tuner that I'll probably be under pitch or flat. You can see in this example that the tuner isn't even sure what type of note I'm using because I'm only using about half of the air that I need to play my instrument. Here it is again with a better type of air, and you'll see that pitch come back to center. Another thing that might be impacting your intonation is your embouchure, which is just a fancy way of saying how your mouth and your lips are placed on your instrument. Your chops, otherwise known as your lips and the surrounding muscles, have to be engaged properly in order for you to make an in-tune sound. If things are loose or not set correctly on your face, it'll be impossible for you to get an in-tune and centered sound. So if you feel like your embouchure or your band face is causing the problem, take a minute and reset your embouchure by working with just your mouthpiece or whatever noisemaker you have on your instrument, like you did when you first started learning how to play your instrument. Let's say that you tried adjusting your air and you tried resetting your embouchure and you're still not playing in tune.
Why isn't it working? Let me try.
Hey, you broke it!
Let me do it. Get out of here.
What have we done?
What do you do?
Oh, come on!
Light bulb.
I've got an idea.
I've got an idea!
Eureka!
This is when we look to actually adjusting some of the parts of your instrument. In the simplest terms, what we're doing here is we're making changes to the length of your instrument in very small amounts. We're either going to take this really complicated piece of plumbing and either make it shorter or make it longer, depending on the reading that the tuner gives us. Pay attention here. If you're flat, that means your instrument is under pitch. It's too long. We need to shorten the length of your instrument by pushing in. If your instrument is sharp, that means your instrument's too short, and we need to make it longer by pulling out. On a brass instrument, you'll adjust your intonation with a tuning slide. On a trumpet, it's located on the curve with the water key. Same thing on a baritone. It's near the water key. On a saxophone, you'll adjust how far your mouthpiece is pushed onto the cork. On a clarinet, you'll adjust the barrel and mouthpiece slightly in and out. And on a flute, you'll adjust how far the head joint goes into the rest of the body of the flute. On a trombone, the tuning slide's located at the top of the instrument. A couple of other things to keep in mind. This video is designed to get you started with the ideas of tuning, intonation, and getting a really centered sound from your instrument. Your listening skills for whether you're playing in tune will serve you way better than a tuner ever will, because you'll be able to make really quick adjustments whether you're playing live or you're in a rehearsal. You don't want to have a tuner up on your music stand. You want to be able to listen to yourself and others around you and know how to make those adjustments without needing the tuner there. It's very similar to doing mental math without a calculator. When you first start, you really attach to wanting to use the calculator, and then really soon you're able to do a lot of those complicated problems in your head. The same principle applies to tuning. Start with the tuner when you're first learning, and then really start to rely on your ear and your musical skills to carry you through your rehearsals, performances, and practice sessions. Good luck in your tuning journey, and we'll see you in the next one.
Point 21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts!